The NFL coaching carousel starting to spin. We'll take a look at some names to watch as the first two jobs are finally filled. Denver has hired the first head coach. Nathaniel Hackett is the new head coach in Denver. John Clayton, Washington Post. He's got a bunch of names to keep an eye on because, John, I'm wondering, this is a interesting coaching cycle. I think by this time last year, now I know there's an extra week in the season, but I feel like every coaching vacancy was filled by this time last year. It seems like these teams are doing a lot more due diligence than they have in the past. Why is it taking so long to fill these 9 openings?
Because too many interviews. I mean, like, for example, in Minnesota and, pretty even Chicago. Chicago had to interview 14 GM candidates before they could start getting to a point where they hire a GM and hire in a coach. Now, we can talk about diligence and all that stuff. That's ridiculous. Too many. I mean, Minnesota still isn't even close to hiring a coach. And so, because here we are, we're just a couple days away from the NFC, AFC championship game, and we only have 7 of the 9 coaches hired. To me, we can talk about due diligence. We can talk about extra study and all that stuff. But how about stupidity?
John, let's take a look at some of the things, and I like what you said there. Let's go to Denver because Nathaniel Hackett's the hire. Most people are trying to connect the dots. Hey, Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, why is Hackett the man? Because I think the last time we spoke, and a lot of people agreed that they were possibly going defense. They changed their mind. Hackett's the guy in Denver. Why?
Yeah, you saw what ended up happening. They didn't hire Dan Quinn, because say what you want, Quinn, even as like Wednesday was still going before he pulled his name out and decided to stay in Dallas, was still going through job interviews. I mean, he had like 6 or 7 interviews with teams. Like, for example, he interviewed with Chicago, was going to interview with Miami, and all that stuff. But I think the big thing that you could see is that they decided, hey, let's go with Hackett. Hackett gives us one of the better chances to get Aaron Rodgers because, Hackett and Rodgers get along really well. Rodgers certainly is going to want to get out of Green Bay for not going to an NFC title game, for going through what's going to probably be a little bit of a rebuilding process because of their cap situation. He'll wait to see what happens with his, best friend, with the Adams at wide receiver. And then, once he figures that out, then I think he puts his name in for trade and he'll end up going to Denver. And if you're Denver, you need to do that. Reason being, if you look in the AFC, you've got 9 quarterbacks, 26 years or younger, and many of them are either rising superstars or going to be really good. And so if you don't have somebody to compete against those guys, Aaron Rodgers can, then you're just doomed.
John Clayton, Washington Post, looking at the coaching carousel that's going on. Denver's got their guy. Chicago, Matt Eberfluss, of course, the Indianapolis. They lose another coordinator out there. I thought this one's interesting. They hired the GM early in the week and the coach pretty quickly after. I thought that was kind of interesting that he gets the job and already had a coach that I don't know how you connect the dots to those two because he didn't go after any guys from his former organization.
No, it was, it's like I'm very curious the way that they handled the whole thing. But again, you kind of wonder, it's like, okay, does Chicago know what they're doing after 14 interviews and all that stuff? And so it's like, it was, but Eberflus is a good defensive coach. I mean, he did a good job when he was, briefly in Dallas and then came over. But again, is that the right choice? Because obviously, they need to get a good offensive hire as far as offensive coordinator to work with Justin Fields and get that offense better because Matt Nagy was such a negative influence and wasn't able to do anything. So, it's like that's the first step. We'll see if it's a good move.
Jacksonville, Byron Leftwich's name keeps coming up. They haven't made a deal yet there. I guess, we'll have to keep our eye on that one. That seems like it seems like the smart decision there, right?
Yeah, no doubt. They're just waiting on Adrian Wilson, because, they want Adrian Wilson to be the GM, and so they haven't hired him yet. And, Leftwich, I think, is going to interview with New Orleans, but he's not going to go down to New Orleans with no quarterback. I mean, he can go to Jacksonville where he used to play, be with Trevor Lawrence, have Adrian Wilson as the GM. So Trent Baalke will be fired. And so that still has to be done. But until that's done, everything's going to be on delay.
Looking at some names here. Now, when Peyton stepped down, I figured Dennis Allen is there. He took over. He has head coaching experience. And you just hinted at something. Their situation seems to be a mess that a young guy might not want to step right into. So is Allen the clear favorite in New Orleans?
He's a clear favorite. But they have to, because of the Rooney Rule, go through a little bit of a job search. So they have to bring minority candidates in. They have to interview other people. But, what they can do with Dennis Allen is keep the staff together, not make many major changes, and then try to go that direction, which I think they will. It's just a matter that, that's going to be delayed a week until they get through all the other interviews.
John, Dable's an interesting name because obviously the Buffalo ties. You got the GM in New York now, but seems like his name is connected to Miami too. And Brian Dable is going to be a name that I thought I was interested in Philadelphia hiring him last year. I really like him as a candidate. So where do you think he ends up?
I think he ends up in Miami right now. Now, I thought it was going to be Buffalo because here they hired the assistant general manager from the Buffalo Bills, and you figure, okay, he's going to go Dable. Maybe he goes Leslie Frazier. But then, it looks like Dable is going to be preferring to be with Tua, and as opposed to being with Daniel Jones. He's worked with Tua at Alabama, and so it's like you can kind of see the fit there. So I see it kind of changing in the way it's going to go. And Miami, say what you want, like it or not, I didn't. It's like they've been one of the least active in doing many interviews. They haven't been very active at all bringing guys in. So I think it's going to be Dable because, again, he gets a chance to reunite with Tua and then take over that job there.
John Clayton, Washington Post. There's so many names out there. What about the Giants? You mentioned Dable. Now where do they go? Because, here in Philadelphia, the Giants have been a mess. They've changed coaches every 2 years. So who's the guy they bring in there next?
I don't know. I mean, they interviewed Leslie Frazier for a second time, and after that, I'm kind of baffled which direction that they're heading. Because again, they were involved with Dan Quinn. Quinn went back to Dallas, so it's like they're kind of like Minnesota right now. Those two teams are the biggest mysteries as far as where they're going to go as far as the head coach.
All right, there's more teams. Raiders been very quiet. Everybody thinks Harbaugh. No one's really said that they have talked to Harbaugh, but they haven't really talked to a lot of guys in Vegas yet.
No, I mean, they've interviewed 6 GM candidates. Now they put in a request for Josh McDaniels. That could be a possibility. They've interviewed a couple other guys, have a couple interviews coming in early next week. But there's a growing sense that if they don't go for Harbaugh, and each day that passes on Harbaugh, you figure it's less and less likely. It could be Josh McDaniels.
Having some fun with John Clayton here because there's a lot happening. Let's go to Minnesota. They just got a new GM this week from Cleveland, but it doesn't seem like they have a big that favorite yet as a candidate.
No, they do not. And so it's kind of a wide open race at this stage. New GM comes over from Cleveland and see where he starts to head as far as what direction is going to go. And so that one is, like the Giants, one of the most wide open in football right now.
All right, last one, which might be the most interesting one with the names here, is Houston. John Gannon in Philadelphia has been out there. A lot of Eagle fans are hoping that they take Gannon because he's not the most popular guy here. But former Eagle backup quarterback Josh McCown is getting a second interview here, and he has no coaching experience.
No coaching experience, but of course we're talking about the worst run franchise in sports in Houston. And I think right now he has the best chance of getting the job. They were looking at hiring him maybe last year instead of David Culley and didn't. And now he's getting a second interview. I think right now they're going to go with McCown.
Crazy. And I don't see Doug Peterson's name. Is Peterson going to be on the outside looking in?
Looks like it, yeah. I don't know if not enough stuff interested him. I know he wasn't interested in Jacksonville, which is understandable. But it's like, looks like he is definitely on the outside looking in.
All right, John Clayton, for more, check out the WashingtonPost.com. He's got a great piece on the names to keep an eye on for your favorite teams opening, and there's still a bunch of them out there. Only 2 hirings have been made. John Clayton, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the football.
Okay, thanks.
All right, always a pleasure to catch up with John Clayton here on the Sports Bash. And if you check out his Washington Post column each and every week, his NFL column over there, you get all the inside goods and the coaching carousel, as he mentioned. Jacksonville, Byron Leftwich. We know Denver hired Hackett. The Saints, he went with the name that I went with, Dennis Allen. If you flip over and look at the Giants, he said right now they don't have a leading candidate. The Raiders, he mentioned Harbaugh, but that doesn't really look good. Bowles is a possible. Jared Mayo's possible out there. Eberflus went to Chicago with the Bears. Miami, Vance Joseph, keep an eye on that. Oh, by the way, New York, look for Brian Flores. That's a name we didn't get to. Minnesota really doesn't have a top candidate. D'Amico Ryans is a name to keep an eye on as well. And then, yes, you heard right, former Eagle backup quarterback Josh McCown is a name that is interviewing for the second time with Houston. Got all that? Good.